Hey guys, today I'll be showing you another restoration project I've been working on, and this video is for Michael, who owns this awesome little Moog Source. So just going to go over it for you, Michael, just give you a good overview of it, and for anybody else who wants to watch, feel free to watch. I always enjoy you guys watching my videos. But this one here, it got the same treatment I give all my units. I went through it, cleaned everything up real good, went through and replaced all common failure components, rebuilt the power supply, complete with new regulators, power transistors, new thermal compound between everything on the power supply, new rectifier diodes, caps, all that's brand new. So it's got a brand new rebuilt power supply. Went through all the circuitry. Now this one was a little bit different because it had some problems. And so at Diagnostics I was testing before I did anything and just kind of listened to the audio. And one thing I noticed real quick was the oscillators wavered really bad. That means they didn't hold a stable frequency. They were just kind of, all over the place. And so when I actually started looking at the, at the stuff in this one, I started with the power supply because that's always where you start when you have odd wavering issues or you have, things that are not right in the analog board. Always check your power supply first. Make sure the ripple's good. Make sure there's no leaky caps. Make sure all that looks good. No regulation problems. And all that looked decent. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was decent. And it definitely wasn't related to the problem I had because I could look at the AC ripple and kind of follow it versus what the oscillators were doing, and there was no relation. But what did come to relation was that as I looked at the demux, which is actually the demux, guys, let me explain this real quick for those that may not understand, because you hear me say demux a lot between sources and memory Moogs. What these synths have, because they're hybrids, that means they're digitally controlled analog synths. So they've actually got everything controlled by a digital board, and then they got the analog board, which is your oscillators, filters, VCAs, all that good stuff. Well, the demux is like the hands of the computer. So basically your computer has all the data going on, goes through a DAC, then it's multiplexed out to the demux. And what the demux is made up of is it's actually made up of multiplexers, because the processor and everything can't handle all the data at one time, so it has to rely on the circuitry that can hold information while the processor and everything does other things, because it doesn't have that processing power. So what the demux does is it multiplexes out that DAC signal, and then it actually has sample and hold circuits, just like what you think of keyboard circuits. You've heard me talk about memory a lot, like sample memory. Same thing. So basically it's a circuit in there with a capacitor and a buffer, and what it does is as the processor or the DAC sends a signal, these multiplexers turn on the given sample and hold circuit for that given function. So for example, oscillator 1 octave, it has its own circuit, sample and hold circuit. VCF emphasis has its own circuit, cutoff has its own circuit. So all these have their own sample and hold circuit. Everything that this synth does, pretty much. Well, what happens is sometimes those caps in the sample and hold, in this case they were weak, so they actually wasn't holding charge for long periods of time for the keyboard CV and the actual octaves. I could see a lot of stuff in there. So what happens is this thing's sampling information. It's going to hold that sample hold circuit's going to hold that data while it goes does something else. Well, if that circuit cannot hold that data for a long period of time, so it starts sagging on the voltage, well, now you're having issues when that thing goes back to that circuit. It's recharging it, so you're hearing this discharge and then recharge of the actual demux. So that's what this one had. So all the wavering, all the noise it had was all associated with the capacitor sets for the demux. So I went on to replace all the sample and hold caps, the buffers, the multiplexers, so that's all brand new. So this thing basically has a brand new demux in it at this point. So took care of that. Now the oscillators are very nice and smooth. So that was one of the big problems this one had, and that was the primary issue, was it just had a lot of processing noise. And these things are always a little noisy. There's always going to be a little bit of processing noise just because of the nature of what these things are. But when you start hearing things like wavering oscillators and filter emphasis that won't seem to hold, or even when you hit a key and you listen to the filter self-oscillate and it's got some wavering in it, that's usually a good sign that there's something wrong with the processing or there's something wrong with the demux. So that's always a good place to look. So took care of that. And then the other thing this unit got, because it is an earlier unit, is it actually got an update. So there's actually some things that happen in production of these units that a lot of people don't know about. Early units don't have as many output stuff. It's a little bit more limited. So what Moog did is they actually updated it just a few years later. I'm going to say probably around 83, 84. They redid the software, and they also added this kit, which this is a factory kit I installed. You can see the original Moog music box right there. And just as the name says on the box, this is an interface drum kit, which also does some really cool stuff for the unit itself, makes it a lot more usable. So originally, looking at the procedure here, I'll just kind of show you what this thing looked like originally, and I'll take you on back and show you what it looks like now. So originally, this is what you had. You had your audio out, your keyboard CV in out, and your S-Trig in out, and you had your cassette interface. This is actually the weirdest thing in the world because it didn't really work that well. And so what you had to do, you had to have a special cable to even load tape data. For those that don't know what tape data is, that's actually how you used to save and load presets. So if you built a custom bank of presets, basically you plug a cassette player into it and hit save right here on the interface, and it would actually send out these noises, digital noise. So it'd be kind of like dial-up internet, for those that remember dial-up internet. So you'd have all these noises, and basically that was the digital data being sent as audio file. Well, this never worked right on these early units because it took a 2.2 volt peak-to-peak signal, which most tape players will not do, because most of them are line level. So usually you ended up having to do all these amplifier buffers, all this kind of stuff to raise that voltage up, and it was just a mess. So we eliminated that, put in this kit, and now what you've got, which is really cool, is you can see the updated kit here. We put the graphics on where it used to say cassette interface and all this. But now you've got your same thing, keyboard CV in out, which does require TRS jack, tilt ring sleeve, and then you got your trigger input, and then that's actually associated with this new sync in, which what's cool about it, guys, if you have a TR-808 or a Roland product that uses DIN sync, this is DIN sync. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to set up the drum, have it playing, and then record a sequence while the drum's playing so you can keep in time. And it'll actually clock the sequencer and arpeggiator with the drum machine. So pretty cool stuff. Then what you also do is I drill holes over here, so all this becomes new. This was originally just a flat area right here. So drill all these holes out. Now your S-Trigs are over here. So you got S-Trig in, S-Trig out with their own jacks. So now it's just TS jack. You don't have to worry about some weird cable. And then now this becomes your tape interface, your cassette interface. So this is where you actually get data. So to tape, this is where you'd load your data or save your data to a tape. And then from tape is where you'd actually send data into this thing and actually load tape data. And then the remote's actually, if you had a tape player that had a remote function, but you'll probably never use that because most everything these days, I don't know if anything uses the remote function there. But anyways, you can see just how clean that looks, and just show you this is your serial number there, 2099. And just really gave the unit a good cleaning as well. But I know that's a lot of information, guys. I just thought y'all might enjoy seeing that. Actually, the kit, there's the cassette tape, little bag, all the stuff came in. And so also with that kit, it gets a new software as well. So there's a new EEPROM that's associated with it. It changes it from 2.2 in this case to 3.3. So it's got a little bit different software to support all the stuff. And so all that's great now, and just fantastic. It's just a great little instrument. So let me put the camera on a tripod here, and I'll walk you through the sounds of it. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm just going to start and go through all the sections of the synthesizer. I'll show you the oscillators, the filter, the contour generators, the modulation section. Just give you a good overview of what you got here. And then we'll go through the other features of the synthesizer, such as the presets and some of the other functions that are pretty cool in this little synth. So starting with Oscillator 1, we got it up first in the mixer section. And I'll show you the footages, then I'll show you the waveforms. So here's just Oscillator 1. You've also got your octave shift of your keyboard. And also just show you how stable this oscillator is right quick. I'm going to hit a note and hold it so you can hear there's no more of that wavering in this oscillator. See how that frequency holds really nice and clean now. There's no more frequency shifts in the oscillator as it's processing. That was that demux issue I was talking about earlier. So that's all clean. Now I'll show you your waveforms. So we'll go through the waveforms. So right now you're hearing the sawtooth. We got a triangular wave. And we got a variable pulse wave. So there's oscillator 1. We'll go back to sawtooth here. We'll turn down oscillator 1 now. That's your mix control. As you can hear, works fantastic. Oscillator 2, we'll bring it up now. So here's oscillator 2. So same thing, you got the same footages. You got 32, 16, and 8. So it's really nice that you have both oscillators at the same footage, because a lot of the Moog synthesizers in this era would have like 32 for oscillator 1, and then for example the Prodigy would only go down to 16 for the oscillator 2. So you never could get those really nice bassy kind of tones because oscillators never matched in octaves. So now with oscillator 2, we'll go through the footages as well. And same thing here, you can hear how great these oscillators are. This one does not waver as well. So I'll let you hear that. So it's good and smooth, no wavering. Of course, you're going to excuse the noise next door. They're working on the building next to me, so it's kind of a nuisance. But anyways, now we'll bring, I got to show you the waveforms real quick. So that's the sawtooth. You got your triangular wave. And we got the variable pulse on this one as well. So there's oscillator 2. We'll go back to sawtooth on both of these, and we'll mix the two oscillators together. So we got oscillator 1 turned up, oscillator 2 turned up. We'll turn up oscillator 1. See, now the two oscillators are mixed together. We'll change the footages. I'll show you how well the oscillators are tracking together. So now here they are both at 8 footage. So now we'll do the same thing with oscillator 2, oscillator 1. We'll go through the footages here as well. See how great those oscillators sound together. They are well calibrated against each other. Something else that's really cool about the synth too, we'll go back to square wave on both of these. We'll bring oscillator 2 up to 16 footage. You've actually got oscillator sync, which is really cool. So we'll turn oscillator sync on, and this gives you those really nice 80s. turn that off, and now your pitch wheel will go back to normal operation as controlling pitch of both. When you're in Oscillator Sync, it just sweeps the sync. So there's your oscillators. You've also got the interval control, which one is actually unison on these units. So we'll go up this in the interval range. I'll just kind of show you how that works. So we get a fifth. Actually, that's a fifth. That was a third. Go a little past that unison. So that's at 99. And here we are at 0. You hear it's out of tune. 1 is actually where it's in unison. As you can hear. So that's your oscillator section. Works really great. I love the oscillators in this thing. They're actually really stable. It's using the same temperature control circuit as the Prodigy as far as the exponential current conversion for the oscillators, so it's really stable. So now we'll go into the filter. So we'll close this filter up so it self-oscillates. Bring this down. Put tracking on the keyboard. Turn the oscillator 1 on just a little bit so I can hear. These don't have a 440 Hertz reference. I have to use an oscillator just a little bit to the filter. Problem is, when it's injected to the filter, it's going to change the tuning. So we just brought that up in frequency just a hair using the cutoff. And that's what I was talking about. When you turn the oscillator down, it's going to change frequency just a hair. And we just injected oscillator 1 back into it. Up another frequency. That's what I'm talking about. You'll actually offset the frequency just a hair. So now we got that filter up. Turn oscillator 1 down. So there's your filter track from the keyboard. We can do half track. Or we can turn tracking off altogether. We also can put a little glide on that, so we'll use the glide circuit. And while we're here in the filter, I'm going to show you that your modulation section works for your actual filter. So this is we just put modulation on the filter. you can hear how great that works. It just works really well. So that's your filter. And you can just hear how great it tracks the keyboard there. We'll turn the tracking off. So now we're back there. We'll turn up the contour amount. We'll put it full. We'll set everything to 0 in your contour here for the filter. And here's just a click. So we'll go here and bring up the decay. Back to 0. You got your sustain level, which is going to set how far down that decay goes, just like on the mini Moog. As you can hear, we have no tracking on it. We've also got attack, so we'll bring attack up. It goes way up there in frequency. So I actually turn the cutoff down. As you can hear. So there's your attack. You also got release time. So let me set one up first for the loudness, because you will never hear it. So if we go here. So you can see that we can set this thing. You can now hear the release time. So if we put tracking on this, you can get those kind of 80s drum effects. Those classic drum sounds there. And that's just playing with the envelope. So we'll turn it back down. So that's your filter, your filter contour. So this is ADSR. I didn't really mention that earlier, but you got attack, decay, sustain, release. So the release is what you're hearing when you actually let off a note, and how it sustains down. You'll just hear it slowly drop. And I set a little sustain on it so it would actually have somewhere to start from. So with the decay and sustain turned all the way down, it had nowhere to start from to release. So I had to turn up the sustain just a little bit, so that gave you that little head so it could just drop down. So that's the filter. So now we'll turn up the oscillators again. I'll open that filter back up. Do that real quick. So now we're back in the oscillators. I'm going to show you the loudness contour works. So start here. We're just going to make it just a click. So let me turn everything down here. So you can hear it's just a click. We'll put a little decay time on it. Turn glide back down. So this is your decay. So you can hear it go all the way out, let off the note. So now we'll set that back to 0. So we got a click, we'll go to attack. This will be the rise time. As you can hear. So that's your attack. We also got the sustain, same thing. We'll keep decay at 0. It's just a click. It's actually how you can get those really percussive kind of. You can hear those real percussive kind of. We'll bring the decay up just a little bit. basically here it won't go all the way to 0. If we set the sustain all the way to 0, you can hear it decays all the way out. So it's a nice way to get kind of a percussive kind of sound on your envelope. So anyways, we'll set the decay back 0. We'll set sustain all the way up. So now you can hear when I let off a note. Just real quick. We'll turn release up. Now you can hear I've got some release time. Like so. So that's your loudness contour section. Let me get this thing set back up for us here. We'll leave a little bit of release time on that. Also, I'll show you the modulation section works for your oscillators. So we'll go here and modulate the oscillators. Just change the rate of the LFO. This thing will go really fast. So you can hear your modulation section works, and that's a triangular wave and square wave, just like kind of on the Prodigy, just a lot faster rate. And of course you've heard your pitch wheel as well by going both upper and lower ranges. Anyways, you can hear how all that works. So that's your filter, your contour generators, your oscillators, your modulation section. And also I will show you too the glide rate right quick works in your oscillators as well. And going back to the envelope generator right quick, I need to show you this, or the contour. You'll hear me mention envelope generator is the same thing as contour. So actually we're going to set this thing up for 0 sustain, 0 release. We'll set up a decay time. So now you can hear it dies all the way out. You've actually got multi or single triggering, which I didn't bring up earlier. So right now you can hear, if I play notes, and I don't release any notes, it will never reset. If I hit multi-mode, versus it won't reset. So that's a really nice function as well. So that all works. But that's pretty much the synthesizer section. I'll go over now the actual presets and show you that the presets all work. So this is factory data. So start preset 1. So that's preset 1, preset 2. Kind of reminds me of a Jeff Beck kind of patch. Somebody that would be playing a synth behind Jeff Beck. Nice horn preset. Preset 4. It's kind of a flutish kind of sound. Kind of a bass sound. So there's 5. Here's 6. 7. Here's preset 8. Harpsichord sound. Preset 9. Got an organ preset. Preset 10. Now this one actually features Oscillator Sync. So that's preset 10, preset 11, classic bass. Really good sounding bass there. Then preset 12. Turn it down just a hair. So that's preset 12, preset 13. So that's preset 13. Now 14 is an interesting one. It's actually a noise source right to the filter. The filter is tracking the keyboard and it has a lot of glide. So you get this kind of really cool kind of wind effect. Here, really cool kind of preset. Now here's 15. It's a noise with a oscillator 1 on with a triangular wave. And now 16 is the same as preset 1. So it's one you can actually write over. There's 16, here's 1. So there's 16. Now I'm going to show you some of the functions of the synth. So we've actually got arpeggiator. arpeggiator, and you've also got a sequencer built in. Now this is something else I had to spend some time troubleshooting after I installed the kit, because it had an issue with the expansion board for the DIN sync, and everything's addressed. So if you have one issue, it can cause issues with other things inside the computer, because it's all, you know, related to processing. So at level 2, we'll hit record 1 to show you that this functions. It'll say 88 on this little display here, and as I play down, it'll count down. So you've got 88 steps you can record. So just we're going to do something really rough here. What I like about it is it'll record in real time. So if you have any pauses, anything, it will actually record those pauses as well. So it's really nice. You don't have to worry about like trying to do a step, and then like, you know, like on some sequences we have a step and you have to put in a space to make it actually have a space mark. It actually records in real time. So it's a really cool little sequencer. So now we'll play that back. So anyways, you can hear it, it loops back. You've also got a record number 2 as well, so you have 2 sequencers you can record to. So here's sequencer 2. I think I've already did a pre-recording. And it just started over in a loop. So you got those. That's your arpeggiator, your sequencer sections. You've also got sample and hold, which is just a random sample and hold of the oscillators. So there's your sample and hold of your oscillators. You got sample and hold of your filter as well. And all these frequencies are controlled by the rate of the LFO. So everything's kind of tied to the LFO for clocking. We got auto trigger. Actually, if we go here and go with that filter back up. Like I said, this thing will get real deep. Sorry about that, camera just timed out there. But anyway, so I was showing you the auto trigger, so we can actually start that and stop it like that. So it's the auto trigger. You got external trigger, which you can actually turn on and off. That's if you have an external synthesizer plugged into the S-Trig, you can actually turn it off and on. So kind of handy there. Then everything else is for your cassette interface, save, verify, load. Excuse the train going by here. But anyways, that's the synth. That's your functionality of it. You got a lot of little things you can do with it, and it's just a really great little Moog synthesizer. But anyways, Michael, I just want to take a minute and thank you for giving me the opportunity to work on this synth for you, and for all you guys that watch my videos. Appreciate you guys watching, and this will probably be my last video of the year. So Merry Christmas to all of you guys, and hope everybody has a safe and wonderful new year ahead. But there'll be more to come here in the new year. So take care, guys.